not good.
The Febreze is strong in this one.
It sounds like the Febreze is strong in this one.
The Febreze is strong in this one.
You've got the woodchuck in Full House. You're more the woodchuck in Full House than Yoda.
Oh.
No, I can't do it.
That's the wood? It's about Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see
My Yoda and Stitch are the same.
We should probably start the show. What do you think?
I'm ready.
Cody, you could edit that out if you wanted to. I really don't care. But here we go. What's up, Collider TV Talk fans? Josh McCouga here, back with the legendary, the one and only Roxy Stryer. We're doing some hypothetical questions. That's what the show is called, Hypothetical Questions with Josh and Roxy. Hashtag it, Josh on... No.
You mess it up
every time.
Third time rocks on Josh's box.
It has nothing to do with the show, really, but that's the hashtag we've started to develop here. We ask hypothetical questions to start off the show. So the title of the show is the first hypothetical question that we ask. And then more and more hypothetical questions go on from there.
I was drum rolling you.
I know, but we got to tell the people where they can find us, since this seems to be an issue with one Roxy Stryer. So if you guys are watching the show and you just stumbled across it, all you have to do is subscribe to the Collider Podcast channel on YouTube. You can also go to iTunes or wherever podcasts are sold, wherever you listen to it, and look up Collider TV Talk. Hypothetical Questions is under the Collider TV Talk banner, the main show of Collider TV Talk with myself and Thad Williams, and hopefully Roxy Stryer sooner than later, is every single Friday. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel dropped this week, so we're going to talk a lot about that because it's the best show on television. If you're not watching it, you should be.
I love it.
It's so good. So today's hypothetical question.
Should I do it again?
Do it. What if The Simpsons was live action?
What if?
The Simpsons.
So we are doing this based off of a tweet we got that did not actually ask that question, but it did ask a question about The Simpsons, and we felt as if The Simpsons deserved to be in our first 10 episodes of this show.
Absolutely.
Faux show.
Probably one of the most influential shows of the last 40 years.
Absolutely. And how different would it be if it was not an animated show, but a live action one instead?
But if live action. The Simpsons has done, I don't know how many episodes now, 500, something like that?
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
We got technology in front of us because it's 2018.
The original tweet was something like, what if The Simpsons never existed? And I feel like we're going to probably put that, like that question will be asked several times over the life of this podcast.
Also, I want to give credit to that person.
Yeah, his name's Matt Barone.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's his name. But I have to go back in the tweets. But we talked about him last week, and he tweeted at us after the show, and he thanked us for sort of taking his question. But we are going full on for your question, though not exactly about your question, because we've asked that question: what if so and so didn't exist? And I feel like that is something that we'll ask more on the show. But we thought it'd be kind of interesting to think about what if The Simpsons was live action.
What is your legitimate guess for how many episodes of The Simpsons there have been?
512.
648.
Whoa!
Debut on December 17th, 1989.
We are coming up on a 1 year from their, what would that be, their 30th anniversary?
Longest running primetime animated series and longest running sitcom in the United States.
Well, that makes sense, obviously.
You make sense.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
That's a different opinion.
But watch Collider Live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 10 a.m.
See, for me, I don't know if I even put The Simpsons in a sitcom category.
Yeah. But it is. But
I have a real trouble with the term sitcom. Do you?
I have a problem with all the terms these days because I have problems with many
Just terms in general.
Just terms in general. No, but when you're trying to classify shows to be nominated for Emmys or for wherever it is, what is a comedy anymore? What is a drama? What is a sitcom? Does a laugh track? Is it multicam? Is it what qualifies anymore?
I think
if it makes you haha.
More of the the old meme where you're scrolling through and you think something funny and you just go like,
yeah, I'm a kind of guy.
Yeah, right. Like that's pretty good. The thing for me with sitcoms is as soon as I hear the word sitcom, I immediately think of a very well lit set with a laugh track. Now, my favorite show just so happens to be a sitcom, Seinfeld. But
it is a through and through sitcom.
100%.
That is what a sitcom is. Mine is a sitcom as well.
Correct. And that is a situational comedy. That is a sitcom, right?
Oh, I thought it was where you sit.
In comedy?
In comedy.
Could also be that.
Sit.
When you think about
it.
What was this move?
Like Bring On the Comedy.
Oh, Bring On the Comedy.
I'm sitting calm.
For those just listening, Roxy kind of did like a queen wave, but reverse. It was more
these are not spirit fingers. These are spirit fingers.
Right, and you just did like a one hand, like kind of like a shake it off situation. Anyway.
Shake it off.
I don't. So for me, that sitcom does that. But as of recently, the sitcom hasn't exactly had its glory years per se. The ones that have the laugh tracks, well, I guess Big Bang Theory, but I've never been a Big Bang Theory fan.
You're a Little Bang Theory fan?
I'm more of just a Bang Theory. Is that?
Yeah, just no fan, no big.
No, just theories.
Just bang.
Just shorten it to Bang, and it's just about that gun that shoots out and just says Bang.
Bang. Yeah, I want one of those.
I have one.
No, you don't.
I do. I do, from the old Casual Mafia days, because that was our logo.
Pull it out, or it doesn't exist.
I don't have it with me here.
Well, you said you did.
It's not in my trunk either.
Well.
Anyway, so to put The Simpsons in this sitcom category doesn't do it justice for me. Does that make sense?
It does. Let me ask you a question. If it was live action,
yes,
and there was a laugh track,
yes,
but it was still The Simpsons, still the main family, and still the same characters, but they are live action, are you thinking of it more as a sitcom?
If it has a laugh track, yeah.
What about no laugh track?
Then, I mean, the amount of laughs I've gotten from Seinfeld or from Simpsons episodes. Yeah.
So it's just because it's animated that you don't think of it that way?
Correct. And I think that the rough overall turn of sitcom, it obviously fits in it because it's about a family and it's situational comedy, and they're sitting at the beginning of the show.
That's why.
So, I guess, I don't know. But it's because there is no laugh track, which I love that there's no laugh track, which when you think about it, was one of the first comedies ever put in primetime TV that was a half hour that didn't have a laugh track.
Yeah, that's true. And
maybe the first ever.
I think it's actually part of the reason why I laugh so often during The Simpsons, even during off seasons, even during off episodes, because
when you think about it and you giggle, the old thinks and giggles.
Yeah, some things are so ridiculous. It's almost funny that when you're alone and nobody else is laughing and nothing else, you're just like, I can't even.
I love the think and giggles. The think and giggles is one of my favorite things because
a delayed giggle.
It's a delayed giggle, but it's it's the when you're sitting in your car and you think about something and you giggle to yourself, or you're around people and they're talking about something totally different and you think to your head, like, the guys are up in my brain just kind of chilling out, working, maxing and relaxing on
cool.
Shooting some b-ball outside the school.
You know what you're doing.
I know, and I'm not going to do it. Don't worry. They love the thinks and giggles with The Simpsons because, again, I'll be around a bunch of people and they'll be talking about something else and I'll just think about a Simpsons scene and just go, yeah. You know what I mean?
Totally. But part of the reason it is so ridiculous and has been so amazing is because they don't have the same boundaries that we have in live action.
Correct.
Things like the monorail.
Right.
What are we doing if that's a live action show?
I don't know.
Like, how physically
it's impossible.
Do we even make something like that happen? So would The Simpsons lose a lot, if not all of its charm, if we attempted to somehow create episodes like that? Obviously, that's just one example of so many kinds of episodes that are just ludicrous.
I like to think of The Simpsons as extremely smart yet juvenile, like a juvenile intelligence of the humor. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think you can get away with that in live action. Do you know what I mean? You can get away with a lot of maybe some of the physical stuff. It'd be hard to get away with a ton of the special effects stuff in the live action, 100%, especially on a network live action situational comedy, right?
Yes.
But the actual words spoken in a lot of the episodes is extremely, extremely funny. But with such a deliberately cute yet juvenile and highbrowed way of going about it, The Simpsons pushed every boundary because the McCougar family was not allowed to watch The Simpsons. The McCougar brothers are not allowed to watch. In 1989, when it first came out, my parents thought it was, this show's disgusting. This is not how families are supposed to act, right? So
what age were you allowed to start watching it?
We were never. So we would just sneak it. We'd sneak it because my parents couldn't pay attention to us all the time.
Right.
So we'd sneak The Simpsons. We always would. So I think in 1989, I was 6 years old when it first came out. And so I think around age 12, my parents were like, everybody's watching this now. It seems like all the families watch it, so go ahead and watch it. But they were never happy about it. And my parents did not think that The Simpsons was a family show.
What show do you feel like it would be most similar to if it wasn't animated?
If it was live action?
Yeah. Like, are we looking at a Roseanne situation here?
Yes.
Or are we looking at a more modern like what?
I think the absurdity of the humor in Modern Family, it touches a little on The Simpsons sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think again, another show that the Macugas did not watch was Roseanne. And so I don't really have much to compare it to in the Roseanne realm, but I imagine that the irreverence of a Roseanne per se may fit into that Simpsons model.
How do you think it would have affected the aging of the kids? Not as much with the parents because they're already full-formed adults.
Sure.
But if, one of Josh and my least favorite, in case you guys don't know, things that TV shows do in general is have kids.
Right.
Because they're annoying.
Yes.
And they're frustrating. But I honestly...
And always poorly written.
I love...
Usually poorly written.
At least Lisa and Bart, I love both those characters.
I know.
They're so great.
Right.
That... I feel like there's no way that we could have aged them or found somebody that I would have liked to even play them.
I feel like Lisa Simpson would have grown up to be, if we looked at this like we look at progressions in television shows, is The Simpsons, and you can't have a fumbling total idiot like Homer Simpson's live action. I think that's the really difficult part. As far as the casting goes, your hardest casting decision is you're Homer Simpson.
We would just be like, that's not realistic.
100%. And that's why the hardest part of what if The Simpsons was live action, would it actually work? I mean... So
you think he would be the hardest casting on the show?
100%, because you have to be a believable, lovable moron.
But it's almost like a harder job to cast Marge, because who picks that guy?
True.
Who continues going back to him. That is really smart and really kind and very dedicated to her family life.
Homie.
Yeah. How do we cast that?
That's so Marge.
It's really good.
I think it's very, very difficult. You're right. Casting of the kids up front is pretty easy. You get like a punk kid and a real goody two shoes girl.
What about back in the day, like Dakota Fanning?
A young Dakota Fanning as
Lisa?
100%.
Yeah.
And you get, because what I was getting at was as they get older, Lisa would have gone to Brown and played the saxophone in the marching band or something like that, and had like the nerdy boyfriend, basically like Alex in Modern Family, right? And Bart, I think, what's hard to do in those is that the way Bart behaves in the show as the kid, the older he gets, he's going to sell pot. He's going to get in a bunch of trouble. He probably doesn't go to college. He ends up working. Is
he like Lip from Shameless, or is he? But he's a little more punky than he is.
I think he's a mix between Carl and Lip in Shameless.
Carl, yeah, a little more like
he's
Carl.
Totally Carl. Carl is Bart Simpson.
I don't know. It's so challenging if Lisa would translate. We know that character.
Yeah, we've seen
Bart, I don't know if he translates to live action, because you just want to hit him all the time.
Right.
Like you just want to shake him, and he's such a
punk.
You
little.
Yeah.
And
we
can't
couldn't
show
do that.
Can't show the classic strangling.
No, you can't strangle a kid.
Way.
You can't strangle a real kid.
You can't.
There's so many things that we can't do.
You can't. I think the thing that's been the most controversial lately is that Hank Azaria can't do the voice to Apu in the store anymore. But Apu as an actual Indian person, do they do that accent to that hammy of a level?
You mean back in 1989 or today if it went to live action? Like if it originally started as live action, or if in 2018 we switched over to live action?
I don't know. You want to answer that question?
I think that back in 1989, I think that somebody would have taken that. But in 2018, I don't know if you do it to that level, because I don't know if people would watch that.
Oh, I know.
Like I think that would be so...
Would that be too offensive?
I think so. I think it would be. I mean, maybe not. But especially if you're casting a non-Indian person to do that, then definitely. So, God, he would be a tough character too.
Right.
I mean, all the side characters like Krusty.
Oh my God.
What are you doing with that?
Do you ever see the movie UHF? With Weird Al Yankovic, and Michael Richards is actually in the movie. It's an old 80s movie. It's very, very, very funny.
No. Does it stand for something? UHF
was the name of a station, but it used to stand for basically like a public broadcasting station. And it was about a children's show on a public broadcasting station, and it had a very Krusty the Clown feel to it. But you can't, I don't know, again, you take that show, right? Because there are so many moments on that show that are very adult. It's a very adult-oriented show. Right. That just so happens to be animated.
The Makuga's not letting you guys watch. I kind of get that.
Right.
Very adult.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a very conservative household, which we've discussed on Collider Live.
Yeah.
And I think that with The Simpsons, because when The Simpsons first came on the air, right, I had a Cowabunga Dude shirt that I got at the Ocean City Boardwalk in New Jersey. I bought it without telling my parents. I wore it to school on like the second day of school, and I was told to wear it inside out, and I got a note sent home with me. My mom got so pissed. And not only we weren't allowed to watch the show, but we weren't allowed to wear the shirt that had Bart Simpson on it.
Definitely not.
So Deb Makuga was not happy.
Ooh, Deb.
Yeah. But Bart Simpson was, for kids my age, Bart Simpson was the breakout star. I mean, they had an arcade game. They had all of that kind of stuff. But what you think about it is like, what if The Simpsons wasn't live action? Would we actually...
what if it was live action?
What if it was live action? Would it even have the same cultural impact? One, would it even gotten greenlit? Two, would it have the same social and cultural impact that The Simpsons did?
Number one, no. Number two, no.
Yeah.
I think that it definitely would not have gotten greenlit, because what would have made it different at that point? Dysfunctional family. That we'd seen that,
right? And
then their shtick on that was to the next level, and you can't do that live action because you can't choke your kids.
Do you watch F is for Family on Netflix?
No, but I've heard amazing things about it.
It's an amazing show, but it's the same thing. That show could never exist live action, ever. No way. And I don't even think it'd be as funny, right? If it was live action.
I definitely don't think Simpsons would be as funny, because I think I would be like,
right,
some of the things.
Same as Big Mouth.
Yeah.
There's no way that could ever be live action. And what I'm saying is, if it is live action, does it even go 4 seasons? 5? Let's just say they tone it back.
How many are we on with Modern Family?
I think this is season 10.
Wow. And there's so many more main characters.
We have a device. Let me look it up.
2018. There's so many more main characters in Modern Family, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if based off of Marge, Lisa, Homer, Bart, like that, we could run that long if they were live action, because I think you would start getting sick of them. We would have to bring people into the fold a little more. There's some of the greatest side characters of all time on this show, but like,
yes.
I don't know. Would Mo have to be a lead character? Like, is Millhouse get adopted by them or something? I mean, we'd have to start.
There is the amount of ancillary characters, because everybody. Ken Knapsack's old roommate had one of those. Every Simpsons character in the same picture. One of those things, right? Mm-hmm. It almost looked like a magic guy. Do you know what I mean?
A magic guy?
Magic guy. You know, when you would look at, because there were so many people in the picture, you almost got lost within the picture.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
And I don't think you get that on a live action show. There just isn't enough room in a show to make that possible.
I'm looking at all of the characters right now, and it's unbelievable going through them. Like, okay, even Santa's Little Helper. What are we doing there?
It's okay. So we're on season 10 of Modern Family.
And that's pushing. They're pushing.
Yes.
I think Simpsons would have gone maybe 6.
Maybe 6, right? And who is the breakout star? Who's the breakout star of The Simpsons? Like, do we see? Okay, so like in Breaking Bad, right? Hank did that show Under the Dome, and he's been in a couple of shows where he's sort of the lead. Under the Dome. Mm-hmm. Very underrated. I actually really enjoyed that show.
Didn't like as it went on. I get it.
Or is Marge the kind of mom, like, Julie Bowen really hasn't been in much outside, or is this the Sofia Vergara breakout character kind of a situation where Sofia Vergara is everywhere? Or is the breakout character the person that becomes the Will Smith, the movie star from The Simpsons? So let's just say that The Simpsons has this kind of mega cultural impact, but it goes away after 6 years. Is the breakout star Bart Simpson? Is 15 years down the line, you're like, oh, remember when Leonardo DiCaprio was in Growing Pains?
Maybe. It feels like it could be Bart. I would lean towards Bart or Lisa.
Okay.
Because with Lisa, I feel like we've got a Rory Gilmore situation going on there.
Good call.
And
I love a good Gilmore's reference.
She's made a really big TV name for herself, but it's not a Will Smith.
Yeah.
Bart could have been a Will Smith. And we do see that happen sometimes now where you go from TV to being a huge film star, especially if you're in when you're young enough in television. But I can't think of a single person that I feel like could have played Bart that would have transitioned to the big screen.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to go through all of my CW people or just the kids that and I can't think of one that I'm like,
man,
yeah, that guy definitely could nail Bart.
Right.
And then he could also take it home onto the big screen.
Right. You also have to kind of give The Simpsons credit on the fact that, yeah, I mean, it's been around so many episodes, and they've all been the same age pretty much the entire time. And the other thing you don't get in live action is the fact that Maggie never says words.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a huge thing we haven't even talked about.
Unless we just keep casting different babies.
Just keep casting babies.
And Maggie stays the same age.
What if The Simpsons is an anthology series, and every couple of seasons we go to a new family called The Simpsons, and it's either in a different part of the country, a different part of the world, a different part of
It's a completely different show, but I'm not mad at it.
Right.
And it's always in Springfield, but Springfield, Missouri, Springfield, Massachusetts, Springfield, Pennsylvania, Springfield,
California,
China, Springfield,
Canada,
Japan. I don't know where they're.
Right.
Doesn't feel like there's a Springfield, China, but maybe.
But could you explain? I think there could be.
Possibly.
Yeah, maybe there's like a Field of Spring.
Springfield, Australia.
Ah, good eye, huh? Hey, look at the bloody Simpsons.
It's pretty good.
It's not bad.
Pretty good.
But the anthology look at this family culturally across the world, all via a family called The Simpsons. Now, maybe that has a cultural impact the same as The Simpsons does, because
not the same, but as large as,
sure,
or in a different way.
In a different way, like who gets cast as The Simpsons this season? Does it go further?
Is yours a reality show?
I don't know. Perhaps you, Chris Harrison.
I love that always you and I go to anthology.
Yeah. Well,
let's just switch it up every season.
All
it'll be different every time.
Okay, but back to our original question.
Is there any part of The Simpsons that would benefit from being live action?
Maybe the police officers.
Okay.
Is that weird to say?
No.
Like having three funny cops that are kind of just not good at their job. One's fat, the other two are just kind of there.
But
is that funny? Would that be better served as live action?
What if there was a one live action season of The Simpsons instead of The Simpsons the whole show, but just one season we did a live action version?
Got real.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
That could be kind of cool.
That really could be.
Yeah, I think that I just can't picture. You don't do 640 whatever episodes of live action Simpsons. You just don't.
You just can't.
But one season, The Simpsons live action.
What would that be like?
Or even
do you
half
make
season?
Marge's hair like high and blue?
I kind of think you do.
Okay.
I think we get as close to looking like them as we possibly can.
Yeah.
But in live action.
Okay.
And I liked your Julie Bowen. What's the name of the girl who's very, very famous, and I can't think of it right now, from Hunger Games? She's blonde.
Jennifer Lawrence?
She's blonde in real life. She looks kind of like Julie Bowen. Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Banks could do it, too.
I like Elizabeth Banks as Marge.
Yeah.
Who's Homer? Like, who are we casting?
I mean, John Goodman could be a Homer, but I feel like we've seen him do his version-ish of Homer. Who else could it be? Man, does he have to have a little belly? A little belly to him?
He's got to have a little bit of a
belly to him.
I know this sounds ridiculous. I'm like thinking of bald actors, right? Like I'm not thinking of actors that would go bald. I'm thinking of actors that are already bald.
I'm looking up some bald actors for you. Okay. I'll see if I can throw you some names.
And he was bald for a lot of the show, and he also played a really dumb dad in Malcolm in the Middle. It's Bryan Cranston.
Huh. Yeah, he did do that. Right? I'm going to give you a list of bald actors right now.
Okay.
And I'm going to throw some names at you.
Okay, go ahead.
Patrick Stewart.
Okay, no.
Bruce Willis.
No.
Sean Connery.
That's a good no for me.
Ben Kingsley.
Oh, I don't hate it.
Samuel L. Jackson.
That could be pretty
Howie
awesome.
Mandel.
Okay, I would see Howie.
I could see a Howie Mandel situation here. Not because he has a middle. We'd have to pad him up a little bit.
Sure.
But just with his weird idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's too smart. Like,
I think Howie
dumb?
Mandel is better suited as Ned Flanders.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Let me see if we've got any more.
How about like a Jason Alexander as Homer? Or is he like...
That's kind of great.
Yeah.
That could kind of work.
I mean,
I don't dislike that.
I feel like Murray Goldberg in the Goldbergs has a lot of Homer to him.
Wow.
Don't you? I mean, he's a little bit portlier. He's not bald, but he definitely yells at his kids a lot. He definitely is not like the greatest dad in the world. He tries, but he's...
I don't mind what you're doing right now. I really don't. With him. I'm loving everything you're throwing out
with
right
Jeff
now.
Garland?
Yeah.
I mean...
Both of them. Both your last two options are good. I'm looking up now bald guys, but apparently all the Google lists are hot bald guys, and it's not necessarily what we're looking for. Mr. Clean makes the top of the list, in case you were wondering.
He's not an actual man.
I am very aware. Joseph Gordon-Levitt in 50-50 is up there pretty high for people. Billy Zane.
Oh, what if we balded Seth Rogen and he became our Homer Simpson?
We're balding Seth Rogen.
Yeah, I think he's our Homer, right?
But also, could we cast JT
as Homer Simpson? Yes. JTE, if you're watching, Josh Tapia. For those people that don't know who JTE is and you're watching the show, Josh Tapia of Screen Junkies and one of the best has a very Homer Simpson's like hair underneath his hat.
Yep. Yeah, he does.
He could totally do it.
Seth Rogen's a great one, though.
Bald Seth Rogen? Not too bad. Now, do we have any young actors out there that we've seen? Like, could we get like a Jacob Tremblay to play Bart? No.
Well, how old does our Bart need to be?
I think Bart's in like
15.
No, because Bart is
younger.
Is Bart older than Lisa or younger?
Is
he older?
I was gonna say older until I all of a sudden thought younger. Let's see, who's older, Bart or Lisa? Do you think that will pop up?
Yeah, definitely. It's got to. And I can't believe I don't know this, but I would imagine.
I know it, and then I questioned it. Okay, 10 years old. Bart is the eldest.
Okay. Lisa then Maggie.
Yeah.
Okay, but they should only basically
it's because
separated.
She's so much smarter that you think that she's older,
and more
but
mature.
I don't know
that you
how
think.
much older.
Yeah.
He's 10.
He's 10. So again,
he seems older than that.
8.
So what are we going to make her 8? I think we have to age. If we go live action, I think we have to make him 15 or 16, her 14 or 13.
I was going to say make him 13 or 14 and her like 12. Bless you. That was
What
a very
happened?
Lucy sneeze.
Really?
And then Maggie's just a baby. But then Maggie, they would have to have a major mistake of Maggie. Or because Bart and Lisa talk too much, Maggie just doesn't say words.
And maybe we give Maggie a notepad. Just jots everything
Jots
down.
things down. Does she have that Jim in the Office look when the camera cuts to her? She's kind of like...
Yes.
Right? And it's not... She's never really acknowledging the camera. She just always has that look of like, oh God, what's going on here?
100%. And I think we have to make Bart and Lisa unknowns if for no other reason than you and I don't know kids that age.
Correct.
Which makes us healthy adults.
Yes.
Or not.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be somebody on like a Bizarrevark or a Bunked. It's
Yeah.
one of those shows that, or Descendants on Disney Channel, one of these shows that a lot of these kids may know the actors' names, but we don't.
What's her name? Maybe Rowan, the girl who was
Dove
Corian
Cameron?
Topanga's kid on Girl Meets World. I think she's a little older though.
I don't watch that show. Do you watch that show?
She was smart. I watched the first. I'm such a Boy Meets World fan that I watched a little bit of Girl Meets World, and there's nothing against the show because I'm sure it's perfect for the people who were the age that I was when I watched Boy Meets World. But I just was like, oh, this doesn't have the nostalgia factor, and I am too old to be watching this.
Yeah, I could see that.
Too old.
Well, it's like when people ask me to watch certain things, like either animated or non-animated, and I'm just like, guys, it's not my wheelhouse. I'm sorry. I can only talk on so much TV, and I have to actually watch the stuff that I like.
That's how you feel about musicals.
Yeah, but I don't like any musical.
Glee.
Yeah, well, they did the Journey episode.
That's true.
And then they won me over for about a
Don't
season.
Stop Believing.
Yeah. Is there a world where
In a world
that The Simpsons? What if The Simpsons ended 20 years ago? Does it still have the same kind of panache?
No.
Even if it went 10 full seasons?
I don't think so, because I think part of what it's been able to accomplish has been in the last 20 years.
Because for me, I mean, seasons like 3 through 8 of The Simpsons are amazing television. And I really haven't watched religiously The Simpsons in the last 10 years. I know they're still putting out great products.
But if you like season 3 through 8, 1 was not that good.
1 is weird because it's
okay.
different animation, different voices.
2's okay, but if you don't like the first couple seasons of something that's 8 seasons, that's a big chunk of the show.
Yeah, I agree. But
I don't think it has the same. I think it still makes an impact, and it would impact future shows, but not the way that it did with Family Guy and all of the.
Okay, so there's the other what if angle of this. So if we never get The Simpsons, or I mean, if we get The Simpsons live action instead of the actual Simpsons animated, and let's just say it was pushing the envelope, people in the SEC were freaking out, moms were burning CDs, whatever they did back then, everybody overreacts and freaks out and writes letters. Now they write emails and tweets and all that stuff to hate a show. Mm-hmm. Does the show stay on the air, or does it fight through it and eventually last 5 or 6 seasons? And if it does, do we ever get a adult animated kind of block of shows like a Family Guy, like a Bob's Burgers, like a South Park?
I would like to think that those shows would have come regardless.
Okay.
Eventually, but I don't know which would have been the first. Because something has to open that door, and Simpsons is the thing that opened that door and sparked the match that lit the flame that is adult animation.
Because so many different places were like, we need a Simpsons. We need a Simpsons.
Exactly. But just because they were the first to do it, I have to trust in humanity that at some point in the thousands of years that hopefully we're here, if we don't destroy the earth first, somebody would have been like, yeah, adult animation.
Right.
Like somebody at some point.
But do you think...
But it might not have been until like a Netflix.
Right.
Where they were like, ooh, we can do things that we want creatively, and there's no studio that's going to tell us no.
Yeah. And is there a world where we don't were there many animated shows for adults that were pitched before The Simpsons, or did Tracy Ullman just hit because you know how it started, right? It aired on the Tracy Ullman Show as a sketch part, and then Fox gave it a green light for a series. Was it the perfect storm of that, where nobody was asking for an animated thing, and finally somebody said, well, animating something is expensive, but we can throw a little sketch on the show, and if it kind of takes wind, then we might be able to spend the money to animate an entire 30-minute show that isn't focused towards kids. It sort of is, but it's more for the adults in the room, because Simpsons humor isn't for kids under 12.
No, it's definitely not.
It's so smart. I mean, I didn't get half the stuff that was like really smart that now I look back on, I'm like, wow, that is really smart, until like 15 years ago.
Agreed. And it's a really great question. I would love to know if somebody pitched something like this and it got shut down because of the expenses, because it was non-proven, because they didn't get to air a test kind of thing first.
Yes.
You'd have to assume at some point somebody pitched a more mature animated.
I would love to hear, to get a documentary about animation in the adult space before The Simpsons, and how The Simpsons came about, if it was inspired by anything or what.
And by the way, I'm sure that somebody listening to this is like, well, actually, tell us.
Tell us,
I would
please.
love to know. And maybe there was something before The Simpsons that we're not even aware of that didn't last.
Well, I know for a fact that what they wanted to do was take that Archie Bunker model, turn it animated so that you could push the limits way more with like physical violence almost, and the absurd crassness that The Simpsons was kind of early on. So, I know where some of the inspirations lie, but I don't know if there was a model on which to go, or if The Simpsons created that model, and shows like South Park and Family Guy took that model and kind of turned it on its head and created their own way around that model. Because for all intents and purposes, Family Guy is sci-fi. They have a talking dog. They have a baby that we're not sure talks or what. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very Seth MacFarlane. The South Park is its own thing based solely on the animation alone.
That's the one that could least likely be live action, by the way.
100%.
South Park would be brutal live action.
You can't make that happen.
Just characters dying
all the time. A dancing Christmas piece of poop? Like, you can't make that happen.
Nope. Not playing well live action.
No.
Nope.
But because those shows succeeded, they were able to say, well, look at The Simpsons. If The Simpsons was able to succeed, can't you guys see this? And you couldn't have gone into a pitch room with a show like a Family Guy or even a South Park. South Park came out, my freshman year in high school? You couldn't have gone into a pitch room without The Simpsons 10, 12 years before that giving it to them. Wasn't even. I think it was 8 years before that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's a very interesting wormhole to go down. It's a very fun what if question.
We just did go down it.
We did. It's amazing we were able to kind of talk about it for that long. And I don't think we even got to everything.
No. There's definitely different side characters we didn't get to. Direction of the show, I don't know.
Yeah.
Writing would have to change.
I mean, the whole storyline throughout the entire show of Sideshow Bob wanting to kill Bart Simpson to kill a child.
Nope.
Not good.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. How much beer we're drinking.
Yeah.
Nope.
Even the opening credits would be tough to do live action.
We're taking an Uber. How you getting home?
Right. Yeah.
Bart, come on.
All right, before we go, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite Simpsons scene or Simpsons line or anything like that? Because I have one that always gets me, no matter what.
I don't know about scene or line. I love Lisa being a vegetarian. I don't know. I have so many.
Do you love the episode when Homer discovers weed and he just makes Lisa play the saxophone for him all the time?
I want that.
Yeah, that's
I want that
fun.
in my life.
Yeah.
Why can't I have that?
So there's a April Fool's episode, which is a huge holiday in my house. Okay, and so I love April Fool's jokes. And Homer gets Bart. So Bart decides to get Homer, and he takes a can of beer to the hardware store and has it shaken up in a paint shaker. Okay, and it's sitting on the kitchen table. And Homer's like, oh, beer. I don't know why. That's not a good Homer voice.
Oh,
beer. And don't. And he opens it, right? And it just explodes out of the chimney, right?
I don't remember this.
You don't remember this? So it's like beer is exploding out of the chimney. It's so animated, obviously. Like not that much beer can explode. You know what I'm saying? And Wiggum is on it, and he looks at it. He's like, oh, crap. He's like, Denmark, we got an explosion at the old Simpsons house. Beer is coming out of the chimney. Pretzels, we need pretzels. And he takes running off to get the beer that is exploding out of the chimney. I just found it to be such a little throwaway line of nothing. I just love that scene. That's all.
I love that you love that. That's really great.
That's all. All right, that's Hypothetical Questions with Josh and Roxy. Roxy, where can the good people find you?
Everywhere at Roxy Stryer.
That's it. Collider Live every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Roxy is there, bringing the hot heat and the hot opinions. This is Hypothetical Questions with Josh and Roxy. You guys can listen to it on the Collider TV Talk feed. If you just stumbled across it on your podcast, we thank you guys for listening. Subscribe to the channel, rate it, comment it. Go to the Collider Podcast channel on YouTube where you can watch the full episodes of this online. I'm Josh McCouga at Josh McCouga on Twitter and Instagram. The Josh McCouga Show on YouTube. The Afternoons with Josh and Ken. The Collider TV Talk main show on Fridays. And of course, hashtag at Josh McCouga for Jeopardy. Tell Jeopardy that you want me to be the next host when Alex eventually retires. We love you guys so much. We'll see you next week. We're going to do a couple holiday episodes going away. As always,
Ho, ho, ho.
Put down the book. Pick up the remote.